MGM China opens its new $3 billion resort on Macau's Cotai Strip on Tuesday, just in time for the Lunar New Year. MGM is among the last to develop on the family-friendly strip, following Wynn Palace and Sands Parisian. Let's cross over now to the resort and say good morning to MGM China's CEO and Executive Director, Grant Bowie. Grant, thanks so much for joining us, and congratulations on the big day, obviously. Tell us, how much of a boost does this mean for Macau as a market, as well as the MGM business?
Well, welcome to you all. It's an exciting day for us, and we are really excited to be here. The market in Macau, I think, as we all know, is looking good, and we're excited to be joining the interesting group of new integrated resorts here on Cotai.
To a certain extent, though, Grant, it seems like you've, I guess, missed out on some of this Macau revival that we have seen, given the fact that you've delayed this 4 times already since 2016, and all of your other rivals have been opening up their resorts in the past year. MGM as well has been seeing a losing market share as well. I mean, what sort of market share are you expecting for this year?
Well, I think as anybody would understand, the market's on the move, and there's still more growth in Macau. And so we're very excited to be coming in at this stage. It's also given us a good opportunity to come into some clear air in the marketplace with the other openings taking on earlier in the year. So actually, we're very positive. We wanted to get the property right. We've got it right. As you look around today, we're actually reinvigorating and reinventing into integrated resorts. So I think from our perspective, we think the timing's perfect, and we're very comfortable to be getting into it as we are, as you said, just in time for the Chinese New Year.
Yeah. Has the delay impacted any of your bookings at all for the holiday?
We're very, very solid, and that's why we needed to get open. We've got a lot of people who want to come and visit us here in Cotai, but also, frankly, in our property in Macau. So things are looking good, and in fact, what I understand, the bookings from Macau are very, very strong.
Yeah, we certainly have seen that across all the casino operators. Grant, also, you were allotted 125 gaming tables for this property, which was less than, I guess, what the street was expecting of 150, and which is what most operators have been allotted in the past. What does this mean for the number of VIP tables that you are going to be phasing in? Is there more pressure now for you to really capture this market and this segment that is seeing a bit of a revival now?
Well, for the opening date, we actually have exactly the same number of tables as the other operators did, and we'll obviously be building up to the additional tables coming on in the future. And we will be working with the government, as we always will, to try and ensure that we're in the best possible position. As I think we've previously announced, we're opening primarily with a mass table operation, but very soon we'll be introducing junket and VIP operations, and we're very pleased with the response we've had from all of the junket operators. And so by the time we get through into this year, I think balancing our table inventory between ourselves here in Cotai and Macau, we're very confident, very positive that we can deliver on the expectations that the market has for us.
Grant, I wonder what investors are thinking, though, because at least when that news dropped about coming in at 125 gaming tables, the share price dropped by about 8% here. Guys, hop into the Bloomberg terminal. Just want to show this to our viewers. 2282 HK Equity GP Go. I've traced this in terms of the red line here. This is the one-day drop, about 8%. And ever since then, Grant, it's actually down by about 13.33%. What are you telling investors in terms of strategy? I understand that MGM Cotai actually has a capacity of 500, but you only have 125 gaming tables. Is that right?
Well, I think everything else in life, it's about responding to what you have available. Again, I think MGM has a great reputation in terms of our execution. We've demonstrated that over the years in Macau, and we're going to do that exactly the same in Cotai. We're very clear about our strategy. We're not trying to create a property for everybody. We're targeting more upper market business. And so, therefore, the number of tables specifically are not as critical as if you were going to, say, the more general mass. So we know what we have to do. We already are aware of the tables we've got. We've adjusted strategies. We developed strategies. And as I say, we're positive. The critical point for us is we're open today. We're going to get going. And then clearly our results will then, the market will respond to the results. But for us, our future opportunities are very, very strong and very, very bright.
I wish I were there to come in and take a couple games, but unfortunately I can't. With that said, in terms of the non-games, Grant, there is some diversification that you guys have been talking about, and the quote here is advanced forms of entertainment. What does this really specifically entail?
Well, we're very excited because what we recognize globally is the transformation to the digital platform. Everybody now sees to live their world and live their lives in many, many different forms. And what we're doing is we're taking a lot of that social media and we're actually creating an environment where that social media is actually part of the experience at MGM. I'm standing here at the moment inside what we call the spectacle. And that is a combination of some of the largest digital video walls with content from all over the world, but more importantly, content and opportunities for our guests to actively participate in the experience within our space. And then when you combine that with the natural environment that we've tried to create, we're in Asia, it gets very warm in Asia, and here we have a fully air-conditioned area the size of 2 football fields. And with the food, the beverage, and all those other opportunities, non-gaming now is about how we connect with our customers, and that's what we're doing here at MGM, and that's going to be part of I think, the future, particularly for the Chinese consumer.
And Grant, we were speaking to Alan Zeman, the new non-executive chairman of Wynn Macau now, and talking a little about the fallout of Steve Wynn and the impact that it could have on Macau. And I want to kind of just throw to a soundbite that he said yesterday on the potential impact that it could have, if any.
This is kind of like a death in the family. Something like just happened. I think that if we find that it really affects business, and there'll probably be more in Las Vegas in the U.S. than out here. Out here, generally, from what I see is that in China, gaming advertising is banned.
He calls it, this fallout, an added distraction, but this is also coming at a time in Macau where there's still a lack of clarity on when it comes to renewing licenses. Is there perhaps a little bit more uncertainty now in Macau?
I think for those of us who are in the market, I think we're very clear. The government's made it very clear about what their strategy is. And today, for us, is actually part of us delivering on our undertakings to the government as part of that renewal process. And as we build out our business, diversify our business, and then we'll carry on. We live in a world with many business distractions, and I think any business needs to have the resilience and the capacity. And I know we do, and more importantly, I know the Macau market does, to overcome any of these challenges that present themselves.
Speaking of challenges, Grant, for China, as its fortunes go, so goes Macau's fortunes to a very large degree. For example, in December, roughly 2/3 of the folks who went to Macau were from mainland China, right? But with the economic factor coming in, GDP growth, guys, I wonder what that's going to be. #BTV3434. Hop into the Bloomberg terminal one more time. It's going well right now in terms of the purple line. Macau hotel overnight guests 3.43 million. But the IMF is saying that GDP is supposed to fall to 6.4% in 2019. Any plan, any concern for that moving ahead?
I think the really important issue here, and the reality is that we don't really deal in frankly, the Chinese macroeconomy. We deal in the consumer economy. And I think when you look at the consumer economy, and particularly since the correction that we had in Macau, we're seeing sustainable and reasonable growth rates. And I think that's what's really important. Tapping into the consumer marketplace, which is continuing to grow in China, and not putting undue pressure on ourselves by having sawtooth growth experiences. So what we're now seeing is solid, consistent and sustainable growth in the heart of the consumer marketplace. I would always see that any country's economy will move around, but we're really targeted into a particular area. Particular strength of China is going to be the continued growth in the consumer marketplace.
And Grant, we have heard the Macau government say it wants to strengthen gaming rules, which has led to some of this uncertainty. But what could stronger oversight actually mean for the industry, and how is MGM preparing for this rebidding process at the moment?
Well, from us at MGM, we see ourselves as being leaders in the establishment of control and integrity. And what's really important in any gaming market is that the consumer needs to have confidence in the probity and integrity of our gaming. And every time we enhance that as standards change and evolve, we see that as an opportunity because that's part of our business. As a multinational gaming operator in multiple jurisdictions, we already operate at the highest standards. And so with that regard, in some ways, we see that as a competitive advantage to us because it brings potentially some of our competitors more into line with the standards of performance that we already adhere to. So I always think that's good. In some ways, more oversight, I wouldn't say more regulation, but more oversight is always a good thing for any industry, particularly where you're relying on consumer confidence.